Today I will be presenting on the reading strategy, questioning. So what is questioning? Questioning is a reading strategy that readers use to engage with the text. It's the process of someone asking real questions. The questions used during questioning should push the readers into deeper thought about the text they're reading. It helps the reader think about and clarify what he or she is reading. So students may often ask, why do we use questioning? Why does questioning help us become better readers, as we say? We use questioning because it helps us understand a story better. So when we read, we often ask and answer questions about the text we're reading. As a result, this helps us become better readers, helps us think about what we are reading. So students may ask, what are questions? Or what questions should we use? How do we even start to use the questioning strategy when reading? The questions are sentences that simply ask for information. Some ways to start a question when reading are the following. You can say who, what, where, when, how, and why. The graphic on the right is an example of how you can give your students a visual to help them remember how to use questioning during their reading. But when exactly do we use questioning? When using questioning, you can think of questions 1. Before you read, 2. While you read, or 3. After you read. So some examples of questions that you may use before you read are things like, what will happen in this story? Who will the characters be? Some questions that may come up while reading the story are, why is this happening? What will happen to this character? And finally, some questions asked after the story. How are the characters feeling? What could happen if the story were to continue? We all know that effective readers ask questions before, during, and after they read. Answers to questions can be found in 3 different places. 1. Within the text. 2. In our heads. And 3. From another source. So questions like, what will happen next to this character in the story? Can have answers that are found within the text. So while you're reading, your answer to that question will be answered. Other questions, you can find the answers here in our heads after critically thinking. And sometimes, students may not be able to have the answers in their heads or in the text. So you may have to look for answers in another source. This would add a little bit of a reason to do some research, possibly on a topic in one of the text readings for your classroom. So here's an example of questioning used before reading. On the right you can see the book Unspoken, a story from Underground Railroad by Henry Cole. This book is a little bit different from most books. Rather than using text, this book tells a story through illustrations. And the topic of this book, or the story actually, is about a girl who discovers a runaway slave hiding in the barn. So your students may come up with questions like, will she have the courage to help this the runaway slave? Or will she simply turn her back in fear? There's a lot of questions that students can come up with while reading this book and simply using illustrations rather than text. But before even reading, just by looking at the cover, there are some questions that students may ask. For example, what is the story about? Or where does it take place? Where is the girl walking to, or what is she looking at? Just judging by the illustrations. When students have finished reading, students should be able to answer some questions like the following. Who were the characters in the story? Where did the story take place? When did the story take place? Or what happened in the beginning, middle, and end of the story? These are just a few of the questions that students may be able to have answered after reading the text. It's so important to remind readers that effective readers ask questions before, during, and after they read. There are so many ways to present, questioning strategies while reading. It's easy to differentiate instruction or change things up a little bit, like with the book Unspoken. But what's more important is to be sure that your readers are engaged in using these strategies and when reading overall. I hope you enjoy.